Alrighty, we are live. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for the Belgian Grand Prix here for ISRL Esports Division 2 Championship. Hello and welcome, everybody. Glad you could join us. I'm your host here for the session, Fallen Monkeys, joined once again in the commentator's booth by ISRL Asunik, as we're just getting ready to jump into our short qualifying session. I'm gonna check in like I always do. How you doing today? Excited for what we've got in store for us?
Absolutely a fan and driver favorite here with Spa, so I look forward to this one.
Oh yes, definitely looking forward to it. I'm excited. You mentioned it, you're excited. Everybody watching at home, I hope you're excited as well, because we are just about ready to kick off this short qualifying session. Now, you'll notice here, just as we're taking the time to honor the late passing of Murray Walker, we are taking a moment of silence here on track to for the drivers. No drivers are going to be getting out on track for the first minute of qualifying, and I feel it's only fair for us in the commentator's booth to honor that with a little bit of a moment of silence as well. So I'm gonna shut my mouth for a little bit and just let the moment take its toll for the late passing. Alrighty, perfect. And I'm seeing here some drivers, it was an optional thing, of course, not mandatory. Some drivers either didn't get the memo, wanting to go out on track a little bit early on, as Simi hit the track very early, and it looks as though Mats as well left a little bit early for that. But that's quite alright, no worries on that. But one of the other things that you'll be seeing some of the drivers do, just on the discussion of that, is you might see some black helmets on some of these drivers. A little bit of a special honor to that as well. So keep an eye out on the stream as we watch the race for those black helmets to see which drivers are going to be honoring all of this. But as we're jumping into the outlaps, jumping into the flying lap, Asunik, what are some talking points that we're gonna have to look out for here at Spa over the course of qualifying and the race?
Well, I just want to make sure my mic was good. We got our weather report. So Michael Fures, aka Mr. LBQ himself, says we got a dry qualifying. That's all well and good, but we got rain at the beginning of this race, so tire strategy for qualification will be thrown out the window. We're all going to see the soft tires, and we're going to see the fastest times we can get, as nobody will be trying to edge out for a tire strategy, as you heard. Wet race at the beginning, which could be hectic. Obviously, at the beginning of this race, a green track, wet. These guys are going to be fully into a dry qualifying, and then to just be thrown into the, I guess you could say, weather, and then it's gonna dry up at the end of the race. So something to look forward to for the drivers.
Oh, that's going to be interesting for sure with the wet weather start, and it's a little reminiscent of what we had last week at Baku. Of course, we did have the dry qualifying followed by the wet race, and of course the drivers do have a little bit more information than we do in the commentator's booth. But do you think maybe we might see some drivers putting on a bit more of a wet weather setup, maybe bumping up that front wing a little bit more to handle the wet weather, and maybe sacrifice a little bit of pace here in qualifying, since of course Spa, unlike Baku, is a track where we'll probably see a lot of overtakes, I would think. There's a lot of very fast sections, lots of areas that do allow for overtake, especially this section here that we're seeing as Simi come out of. If you get that nice exit right on the start leading into Blanchemont, you're basically setting yourself up with a lot of speed compared to the driver ahead, assuming you do get that better exit, which of course leads into the very hard braking zone of the bus stop chicane, which that alone can also open the door for a lot of overtakings. And I don't even think I need to mention Eau Rouge, Radion, and the Kemmel Strait as probably the area that we're going to see the most here in this entire race. But Simi setting a 141.9 as the first lap on the board. First of many to fall, I would say, as we are still early in this qualifying session. Now, I am seeing some drivers out on the medium tires, interestingly enough. Irish Newt
Yeah, it's
Potato.
gotta be. You take a banker lap, you know, just they don't waste a set of softs, maybe saving for the races, depending on what they picked. And I actually want to touch on what you said earlier. Oh my God, look at the Cohen and Simi so close right there. That's two 100s. But you said the setup going into the race, whether you start with these guys are out here on a dry or a wet setup. Now, my philosophy would be if the rain was coming at the end, that would be my only. That's the only way I would just say, you know what, I'm going with a wet setup. But because it's wet at the beginning and towards the end of the race, when the results are going to really matter, because you could have late safety cars and you could just skip over the whole rain period in general, you're probably going to want to put a dry setup on.
Yeah, and I do have to agree with you, albeit myself, I don't really mess around with the dry to wet setups all that much. I've got my one-size-fits-all, if I'm being completely honest. But, no, I do have to agree with you with that 100%. But the only other thing I want to mention is...
Synchros around.
Yeah, I see that, right? I think... oh, I know that area all too well myself. So hopefully that can get sorted from Synchro in time for the race. Find that line he needs to find to make it through the track. But just with the weather, I think it also depends on how long we're going to see this weather take effect, right? Of course, if it's going to be raining for 3/4 or longer of the race, it might be a little bit more beneficial to put that wet setup on, given that you're going to be spending most of the race under those wet weathers. Of course, you can hope for those late safety cars, but it's not really a great idea to plan a strategy around hoping for those safety cars. And especially if you can create that gap even in the wets with the better setup, then it might even set you off in a decent position, even if you do end up going to dries near the end of the race. Now,
we got an early prediction in the stream chat as Knight predicting he's predicting the entire podium. He says P1, Mavako in his home Grand Prix, P2, reserve driver Kurt Valletta, and then for P3 to round out the podium, he's predicting his cross. Oh, wait, actually, no, not. It's just Irish New Potato. I keep thinking Irish New Potatoes in the Red Bull still from last season, and it keeps throwing me off. I'm not gonna lie.
I think after the podium interview last week, I might have not helped with that at all. Putting that Red Bull up on the screen for everybody to watch. But nope, as you can see, he's out on track right now on those mediums. Irish Newt Potato definitely in the AlphaTauri car as he's coming through, approaching that little downhill U-turn like corner that I still don't know the corner numbers to, so apologies to that. Currently in 7th, but it is an interesting podium, and it brings up something that you had noticed right before we went live, and now Knight predicting him on the podium. Kurt Valletta sitting in the Red Bull seat, taking over for Vito, who's not here this week, unable to make it to the Belgian Grand Prix. So we do have Kurt Valletta keeping that seat warm, going to be lugging that Red Bull around the track and teaming up with Dark in the Red Bull garage here for the weekend. And as Kurt Valletta is coming around the bus stop chicane, let's take a look and see what kind of lap he's going to put up as his first flying lap. It puts him up into P5. It's a 142.313 for the reserve Red Bull driver. So a pretty decent time. And I'm just looking at the other podium.
I feel like he was holding his punches there. I'm not going to lie.
But somebody who's definitely holding his punches, I would think, is Mivako. Only a P9 and third slowest time for the Ferrari driver. And given the pace he's shown, I think there's a lot more in that Ferrari car than meets the eye after that first lap. So keep an eye out on Mivako, as this qualifying session plays out. And I do expect to see him jump up the order just a little bit from where he is now. Looks as though Krishna was starting a lap, but he doesn't have a front wing on that car. So must have had a moment somewhere, and this is going to be a long ways around this track with no front wing for Krishna. So he's not having a good time
Oh,
so far here at Spa.
you hate to see that. That thing's going to be driving like a tank, to the
Oh yeah,
least.
and especially in Sector 1, not the end of the world, but really Sector
It said,
2.
it said he said a purple sector.
Well, I mean, with no front wing, you've basically got you've got a lot more top speed. Car probably looking to take off, but Sector 2, a lot of time is going to be lost there, as that's where you really got to get the car around these corners, and that car is just not going to want to turn through some of these sections like this downhill corner we're seeing Synchro take right about now, so that's going to be very challenging if there is wing damage. And I mean, speaking a little bit about wing damage, that is a little bit of an extreme, but a talking point, we brought it up in Formula Fridays, and it did show its face in the Division 3 race for those who were watching a little bit earlier today: track limits. You've got to watch out for your track limits here around this circuit, because if you're not careful, they can definitely bite you. You're taking a lot of corners at pretty high speeds, and you're really extending the track to its limits, and this track does bite back in the form of penalties, and it is something that can definitely affect later on in the race if you do have a lot of them accumulated, especially just to go back to a point of if we do see a late safety car, the grid gets bunched up, and if you've got 9-12 seconds of penalties just from pushing the track, that can really throw your race into a twirl and really cause issues for you. As Synchro goes up into P4 with his time, it's a 1:42.1, so a good time from the Racing Point driver, and puts him just ahead of his teammate.
Oh, Simi's in the wall.
Oh no!
Just before the no-name corner. That's
No
ironic too, by the way. No-name corner is the name of the corner.
Oh, okay. I had no idea. That just whoop right over my head, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I don't know.
No, it's all right.
The more you know.
Yep, the more I know. Is that downhill? The downhill right-hander? Yeah. Oh, okay, okay. The no-name. Okay.
No. That's left-hander. Right before Puan.
Oh, okay, okay. Yes, that left-hander. Okay. Yes, I see. So after the downhill U-turn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So I've got that now. The more you know, the no-name corner. Gotta learn something every day. Is who's here on a lap? We've got Lewis. ISRL Lewis reserving for the Haas team out on a lap right now.
I didn't even see that.
I noticed him join in. Didn't necessarily say too much, but as he's starting a flying lap now for real in that Haas car, we'll take a look and see what kind of pace Lewis has. We've seen him make some outings in Formula Fridays, but looks like he got the green light to reserve here for Division 2. So we'll see if all that work and practice in Formula Fridays can translate to a strong showing here in the Division 2 race, because of course we've got, it's a very tough grid here on the Division 2. Lots of drivers, lots of very quick drivers, and I'm curious to see how Lewis fares as I'm gonna say back in the day a former Division 1 driver.
Yeah, former Division 2 podium sitter as well, so he's no stranger to these races. He's just taking a break, working on some other aspects of sim racing, so good to see him back in the lineup. We know he's rapid, he's out of the pace we've seen before, so good to see. We got a pretty stacked grid today. This should be a fantastic race.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited. It is a stacked grid, like we mentioned, being led the way from by VMark in the Alfa Romeo up in the provisional pole. Demort's up into second. I didn't see him set that quicker time, but did improve, and we're into a lot of the 140 the high 141s, but a lot of 141s, except for VMark that I just noticed. It's a 141.5. That's nearly 0.3 faster than Demort's, who's in second. So VMark making a strong, sending a strong message, excuse me, here in qualifying that he wants to be leading the way, leading the charge, a bit of a front runner here
What
as far as
the?
possible podium, possible victors here in the Division 2 race.
Uh, I'm experiencing. I don't know. I just watched Lewis finish his lap to go P6, and all of a sudden he just
Oh, jumped
disappeared.
into the pits. Maybe
That's wild.
some connection issues for Lewis as well. I'm not too sure. I know sometimes when you're out on a lap and the connection issues do come into play, your car just gets sent back to the pits so it doesn't end up ghosting around the circuit in qualifying. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that, and hopefully if it is connection issues, that can get resolved before we jump into the race. Now, here on track, Chris Nerazzurro, he set a purple second sector, so looking to be pretty quick around the circuit and this stage. With only 3 minutes to go in qualifying, he's going to want to hope for a really good lap here because he won't really have all that much time to get another one set. So this might actually be his final lap of qualifying as he heads to the line, crosses it up into P10 for Chris Nerazzurro, so puts himself right in the middle of the pack with that time. And it's a decent 142.779 for the Williams driver.
Yep. One driver you're going to look to try and improve his time immensely is Mavaka, who's on his outlap now.
Oh yeah, out on the outlap. Just started his outlap going. Just letting some drivers through, going a little bit wide. But it was a little bit, as I mentioned. He didn't have the best lap the first time around. I'm not too sure what happened with his second lap. Might have been an invalidation from the Ferrari driver, but I'm not too sure. But here in the late stages of qualifying, really gonna have to put that lap together if he wants to get a decent qualifying position. And if we are starting in the wets, that qualifying position is going to be very important because it's a lot harder to overtake in the wet weather than it is on the dries, especially when the track is going to be slippery in those first few laps. So you're going to want that track position. But we'll see how it all plays out here as we're down to the last 100 seconds of qualifying. Less than that now. Here comes the Red Bull of Dark. He's looking to have a better time here in his qualifying as he's currently sitting on a near 143 flat. I know the Red Bull driver can go faster than that if he gets the lap together. Coming through the bus stop chicane, and as he heads towards the line, I don't think it's going to improve as it looks to be 2.2 seconds slower than his previous time. But it looks like now he's going to be going for another
lap.
That's what I was thinking looking at the ERS now. So I think maybe didn't like the way his first lap went. Save that ERS, save the fuel, and looking to pump another one out here right at the end of the session when the track is going to be at its quickest. Krishna's back here on a lap, just starting his flying lap, and the only driver out on track who doesn't have a time set. Mats is in the pits. He doesn't have a time set either, so he won't be putting a time. Might be did Mats have a qualifying ban actually?
I can look into it.
I'm trying to remember from the incident reports if there were any qualifying bans in Division 2. I mean, of course, Baku was a little bit of I mean, I'll be honest, kind of plagued with incidents in the incident report. Oh no, Krishna, he invalidated his lap time, so he's not going to get a time on the board either, as you're seeing him on screen going very slow. So let's switch over to somebody else. Here, let's switch over to Mivako and take a look and see what he can do on his lap. Coming through Puan right about now, approaching the end of Sector 2. This is a very tricky corner section here that Mivako is taking. Easy to lose the car if you're not careful on that outside curb. Mivako handling it very well, but VMark's 141.5 is the time to beat here as the qualifying time runs out and drivers are looking to finish their laps. I'm seeing that's Cruz not happy with his lap. He's going into the pits. He's done with his qualifying session.
Oh no, Synchro invalidated?
Oh no, heartbreak
Same with
for
his
Synchro.
teammate.
And, Demortz as well, so that's why he's going into the pits. So it looks as though Mivako, what's he going to do? Only up into 10th for the Ferrari driver, a 142.5. So I'm thinking, given the pace that we're normally used to seeing with Mivako, oh, Jordan invalidated. That's not what you want to see. Kirk Valletta up into 5th with his time. Let's take a look at Cohen as he's coming through the bus stop chicane. What kind of time is he going to put up? Just nearly the identical time that he set previously. Simi across the line, and he goes fastest with a 141.417. So he takes that pole position, but here comes V-Mark. He was going faster. Will he take it back? No! He's a 141.496. Good enough for second so far, but not quick enough to take that pole position back from Simi, who snags it up at the last possible moment, really getting that lap together when he needed it most. But now with the end of qualifying, this is where things are going to get interesting. We're going to be jumping into the race, and it will be Simi starting on pole for the Williams, with V-Mark starting on the front row of the grid right alongside him. Irish Nude Potato, familiar face, up into 3rd. D-Mort's in 4th. Cohen rounding out the top 5. Kirk Valletta in 6th. Synchro in 7th. Lewis up into 8th. Efrontabone in 9th. And Jordan rounding out the top 10. Mivako in 11th. Chris Nerazzurro in 12th. Cruz in 13th. Dark in 14th. Michael Fures in 15th. Lorenzo in 16th. Stu in 17th. Mats in 18th. And Krishna rounding out the order in 19th here to start the race. But now, this is where things get interesting. If the weather report is accurate, we're going to have a wet race to start things off. And my question remains,
how wet?
Yep, you read my mind, Asunik, and I mean, it's definitely looking wet, but I'll be honest, it's looking intermediate tires type wet track, if I'm being honest. It's not drenched in rain,
Buckets.
but it looks like it has rained for a decent amount of time. So the question, I think, will remain whether or not the track has any standing water, or if it's just Jordan given that very quick ready up indicator. So we're going to be jumping right into the race here, as Jordan does not want to waste any time to start off this race. He wants to just jump right into the wet weather and get things started. Albeit there is not much in terms of strategy at this point, given the default strategies that the game gives. Just start with your wet tire and just roll with it and see what happens, I think, is going to be the strategy to start off this race. But as they're coming through the formation lap, it's going to be Simi leading the way. And let's pop up the tire choice. And yes, so everybody has opted for those intermediate tires here to start off the race. So all 20 drivers, all with free choice of tires, and all opting for the intermediates. So nobody putting on the full wets, which seemed to prove what I was indicating with the light rain and not enough standing water, or any standing water, to warrant those full wet tires.
Look for the drivers to be very tentative on lap 1.
Or we'd hope, at the very least. I mean,
Mushroom staying very positive in the chat, predicting 3 safety cars.
There we go, only 3. So that's, I mean, it's a good prediction there. Hopefully, I mean, I hope we don't see any, or maybe hopefully we see 1 or 2 in these early stages or later stages.
I don't want it to come at the expense of
someone's
race.
No, well, that's
I don't
the
want to
thing.
see, you want to see all the guys cross the line.
That's the thing. If there's going to be a safety car, let it be for debris, let it be for wing damage, so the driver can just take a pit stop, get back on the back on with the field, and get back to battling right then and there. Not for the sake of a retirement, but of course, the other side of the coin is that it is Spa we're talking about, and it does have the very famous Eau Rouge corner section, and here in the intermediate tires, it's going to be that much more tricky to handle compared to what it is in the dries, and it's already difficult enough to take for some of these drivers in the dry conditions. So we'll see how it all plays out. And turn 1, it's a very sharp corner into turn 1, and with 20 cars lining up, barreling down here, it's going to make things very, very interesting to see how it's all going to play out. And we've got a little bit of a separation here I'm seeing between what was the front of the grid of Simi and V-Mark barreling into the line to end their formation lap, and pretty much the rest of the order who kind of sat back, really taking their time to warm up these tires. So we'll see how that affects the race, as Simi is basically lining up on the grid now, as the likes of Stu, Mats, and Krishna, they're just approaching the bus stop chicane now, so they're going to be sitting on that front row for they're going to be sitting on the grid for a long time. And those tires are going to get pretty cold here to start the race, I would think. So we'll see how this all plays out, as we're just seeing now Krishna lining up on the grid, and we are going to be starting for 22 laps around Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. It's going to be the Belgian Grand Prix, ISRL Division 2 Championship, and we are getting ready to start this. Up to 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights, and we're off to start the race. And a little bit of a tentative start from some of these drivers leading into turn 1, as you'd expect. Battling for positioning here, very cautious. We've got some side-by-side battle between V-Mark and Simi for the lead of the race, as drivers very cautiously coming through turn 1. But here comes Eau Rouge. I'm already seeing some battles that look to be Demorts and Mivako a little bit further behind, battling for positions. It appears as though everybody's getting through that first corner section safe here. Oh, we've got a yellow flag. What happened there? That's El Piku. Michael Furious falling down the order, as we've got Irish Mood Potato making a move on V-Mark. And was that Mivako? There's contact between Mivako and Demorts, and that's Demorts going off the track here early on. He's falling down the order. And what's happening to Jordan here? I think that's just battling. Maybe Jordan struggling with the tire heat here, as now he's got Mats that's trying to make a move around the inside. You can see how much of a kerfuffle this is. Jordan really falling down the order here. He's got end plate damage as well, I just noticed, on that AlphaTauri. So that's maybe why he's struggling as much as he is here in this early stages on lap 1, as Lorenzo's trying to get a move done as they're coming down Puan. And yeah, you can see Jordan going wide, not having the start of the race he was hoping for. But crucially, Mivako up into 6th now after the lower qualifying, so he's feeling that grip in these intermediate tires. So I do think Mivako might have put a more of an intermediate tire wet setup on for the race, and sacrificing his qualifying. And what's happening to Krishna? He was up a lot of positions. Oh no! Oh no! You gotta feel for Krishna, as that brings out a full safety car, as Krishna sort of, I'll be honest, did exactly what I had done in the Division 2, in the Division 3 race. Hey, I'm fine with saying it. It's in the past. I'm living with it. But that was, I'll be honest, I'm looking at that and slap a Red Bull there instead of a Renault, and make it a little bit more dry, and I would have said that's a clip from my Division 3 onboard. But heartbreak for Krishna, as very early on, that is the end of his race, so no points and no possibility of points for the Renault driver. And here on lap 2,
it's gonna help Jordan.
Yeah, definitely going to help Jordan, as he can essentially take his pit stop, as you're seeing now. We're waiting for the order to sort itself out here, as it's showing him up in the.
Weird the entire race so far.
Yeah, I've been trying to follow along as best as I could, but here we go. It's showing Jordan in the lead of the race, but that definitely is not the case. It is Simi leading the race here, as we are under full safety car. And in a way, this might be what the drivers are hoping for. Have the safety car eat up a few laps. You're going slower, and this might allow the dry weather to creep in a little bit sooner, which could allow for a little bit more dry tire running, assuming we do get the dry session near the end of the race. So maybe some drivers happy about that. But other than if you took any damage, the likes of Jordan and Cruz, there isn't really much need to take a pit stop here in these early stages of this race under safety car.
The early one, it makes it so, obviously with nobody having to change tire strategies, it's just going to pretty much help out guys like Cruz and Jordan who had taken like first lap wing damage. They're able to get in the pit and get right back on the strategy with the rest of the grid. I mean, they dropped down the order, but you know what? Dropping down the order after taking a pit stop under green flag conditions way more hurtful than what they're doing right now. So they have a chance.
Yes, they do have a chance, and you're already seeing them there back up to the back of the grid. So it's essentially like as if they just got overtaken, fell down to the bottom of the order, and just sort of left it at that. So they do have their work cut out for them, as they've got 16, 17 other drivers to overtake. But the good news is, at the very least, that they're not having to close up on all of that, close up a gap before being able to get that overtake done like they would if we were still under green flag conditions. So they're definitely, I mean, I wouldn't say they're probably, they're cheering about Krishna crashing out, but they might send a little bit of a thank you letter in the mail or in the paddock of the Renault for bringing that safety car out. But here we are on lap 3, still under safety car. And if I'm being honest, I wouldn't be surprised if the safety car comes in at the end of this lap, given that the field is basically right back up together. We just have to do the rounds, do that one last lap before we head back to green flag racing, I would think. Or at least I would hope, because there's only so much you can say under safety car here in the, at least in these early stages. But,
the dog's barking.
Alrighty, no worries on that. So we'll let Asunik get all that sorted out. I'll keep you all company. But I do want to say here, Mivako, I mentioned it during the race, and I'll mention it here again under safety car. You can see already up 5 positions, up into 6. And I just noticed this. Stu up 7 positions, up into P10, so he definitely had a start to remember. And Mats as well, up 6 positions, up into 12th, benefiting from these 2 pit stops, but that's only 2 positions essentially. So still 4 overtakes in the span of a lap to go up 6 and 7 positions respectively. So a solid start from those drivers in particular, and really set themselves up pretty well here for when we do go back to green flag racing. Really getting that mindset, getting that start they wanted, and putting themselves early on here in a position where they can really make a push here and get a decent, potentially a decent finish. But here we go. Safety car is coming in this lap. Simi will be leading the way, becoming the de facto safety car, really allowing that safety car to get that run into the pits, contrarily to what we saw in the Division 3 race, where the leader just sort of stuck with the safety car for the better half. But we'll see when Simi decides he wants to go.
This is where we could see some incidents here. It's wet. There's a lot of spray. A lot of these guys are unsure. There's a lot of space given. A lot of, see, there it is.
Yep, Synchro and Ephraim getting into a collision, and here we go. We are up to racing, and oh my goodness, Simi having a little bit of a moment here, but it might actually end up checking up some of the field depending on how this all plays out. Coming through the bus stop chicane now is all these drivers. This can be a bit of a dangerous moment on this safety car restart, but it appears as though everybody's made it through cleanly, as there wasn't necessarily anything wrong with that, just Simi having a moment into the grass, which I think made Irish Nude Potato maybe check up a little bit, as he wasn't able to get that overtake done. But Jordan, unfortunately, having to take another pit stop here as we go back to green flag racing, so might have been caught up into an incident himself. But here, further out on track, oh, he's putting on the mediums. That's going to make things interesting. Oh, I didn't even notice that the rain stopped. Keen eye is Sunic on that, but now that he mentioned... Oh no! That's D-Morts crashing out, spinning like a Beyblade, if I'm being honest. We've got yellow flags here. Chris Narazuro going very slow. I'm not too sure why that was the case. He's got some wing damage there, so maybe got caught up in that incident with D-Morts. But
oh no, Jordan!
Uh-oh. Oh no!
Rouge, he's absolutely...
So maybe that's a lot of things just happened there in the span of, basically in the span of a sector. I was riding on board with, I think it was Lorenzo in the Ferrari, and I didn't see the incident, but just saw D-Morts just spinning and spinning and spinning on the Kemmel straight, hitting the wall. And if I'm being honest, I'm surprised that car is still in one piece. No front wing, and it's going to be a long ways around, but crucially, he does keep the car there, and does still keep himself into a decent position. But then Chris Narazuro falling down the order, Jordan crashing out of Eau Rouge. So much just happened there. But what happened to Jordan? Do you think it was just the not necessarily the time just yet to put on those dry tires?
Oh, who's that? Is that
that's
Synchro?
I think that's no, not Ephraim. That's
no, here they come.
Synchro, and here comes Lorenzo. Oh my goodness! And that was Cruz getting caught up into that. My oh my, what is going on here at Spa? It's all gone off here on lap 5. We've got we've got so many pit stops here. Now I think we're gonna see some dry tires being put on. As one lap later, we've got these some drivers taking those pit stops. But absolute calamity there. As I jumped on board to see what happened to Synchro to figure out where he was. And right as I jumped on board, I saw wild Lorenzo coming sideways onto that car. And crucially looked behind and saw that was I think it was Cruz that equally was having a moment a little bit further ahead, I guess I would say. But my goodness, Asuna, did you see what happened? Talk us through.
So I saw what you saw. I need to change of pants. I saw that there was an incident on the track map. Saw that it was pink. I understood the D-Morts in the back, so I knew it was Synchro. I click on a Synchro. Just as I do that, I see Cruz and Lorenzo completely sideways, just heading straight for Synchro, who was a sitting duck, who he himself was probably looking ahead like, oh god, this can't be happening. Thank god the last moment the cars were ghosted, but spectacular scenes. I gotta say, it looks like D-Morts has had a problem again.
Well, let's take a look at what happened to D-Morts, and I mean, your words said it perfectly. Spectacular scenes, and that's to say the least. If I'm being honest with you, because that was crazy. That was a little bit of calamity there. Like lap 5 just brought out all these incidents, and I mean,
hurt Cohen. Oh, this is gonna kill Cohen.
Let's take a look. Cohen diving into the pits, well, along with VMark and Newt Potato, and Mivako following.
His teammate.
Oh yes. Oh, I didn't even silly me. I didn't even clue into that. So Cohen's going to be stuck with the double stack. He's going to lose a lot of time. And I mean, crucially, here comes Simi down across the line, sets a purple sector 3 for his troubles. And as Irish Newt Potato coming out of the pits now, it's going to be close. Who's going to take the lead of this race? It is going to be it's going to be Simi who gets the lead, as he does overtake Irish Newt Potato coming out of the pits. You're just so much slower on the exit, but Irish Newt Potato on, I think, slightly better tires, I would say, than Simi, contrarily to what my tire graph is going to say. But VMark, who put on the hards, he's going to try to pressure Irish Newt Potato for that P2 spot, with Kirk Valletta slotting himself into 4th after that, with Mivako holding strong in 5th, but still has a little bit of a gap between himself and the Red Bull in 4th. But now Stu and Michael Fures going side by side. Oh no! Oh my goodness! Michael Fures was caught stuck in a rock in a hard place, perpendicular, parked right in the middle of the track. Ephraim had nowhere to go, but right into the car of Michael Fures by the time it all happened. So Ephraim's got some wing damage, I think, as you can see there, missing an end plate. Michael Fures, I think he's okay, but heated tires, and you can see going slow and actually holding up dark ever so slightly. But that may be going to be something to take a look at just with the initial contact between, I think it was Michael Fures and Stu, if I recall correctly. But speaking of Stu, he's around, facing the wrong way as he's trying to avoid the wall to get back on track, and have to watch out for these drivers as it's going to be tricky. Here comes Michael Fures. Dark had a moment, so he's going to be losing out on a little bit of time. So, crucially now, this battle can pick right up where it left off between Michael Fures and Stu after that incident. But now, here comes Cohen putting some pressure on Mats. And it looks as though through the bus stop chicane, it is still Mats who's going to be leading the way. But Cohen has some DRS on Mats as Cohen is trying to work his way back up the grid after losing out due to that double stack. But I think if you're Cohen, you kind of had to do it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Because if you waited an extra lap, you would have lost out on so much more time. Just because, if I look at the onboard, the track is looking essentially dry.
Very dry. You're going to start seeing lap times come in now.
Oh, yeah. Especially now that they've got their outlaps done. Lewis, interestingly enough, he put on the soft tires. But I think
Lewis isn't with us anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm seeing now that you mention it, I saw that it looked to be a ghost. So I think that is just the pit crew running on automatic mode and just putting on that soft tires. So that's going to be another pit stop for the ghost of Lewis. So compared to everybody else who realistically should be able to go to the end of the race, bearing any incidents or any tire wear issues as this race plays out. Irish New Potato taking a 3-second time penalty, so that's going to be applied to his time at the end of the race. Crucially, he does have a gap between himself and V-Mark as he's trying to close up to Simi, who's still leading the way and nearly has a 2-second gap between himself and Irish New Potato. So we'll keep an eye out on that battle as it plays out. But we've got a few more pressing battles on screen here as, there we go, Simi setting a 148.7 as the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. See, Cohen on Mats. Is this move going to get done this lap? No, it won't get done. But once again, Cohen with DRS. Will he be able to just close up enough to get the overtake done? It really doesn't seem like it. Going a little bit deep into turn 1 was Cohen, so that's going to lose out on a little bit of exit speed, which might allow Mats to create just enough of a gap to hold on to that P6. But Kurt Valletta got past V-Mark on the Kemmel Straight while all of that was happening, so Kurt Valletta up into a podium position. Let's see, is Cohen going to close up enough? Doesn't look like it as they're getting very close to the braking zone, and no, Mats just has a little bit more speed on the straight line, a little bit more exit speed, and is doing a good job holding on to that P6. And it really doesn't help that Cohen just sort of following the line Mats was taking through the grass, so no chance of closing up through into this into the downhill U-turn and then into the no-name corner, as he could have potentially done, and maybe get a run on around Pouan if he was feeling a little bit daring. But
two Mercedes are on top of each other.
Yeah, I was
to go
just about to say, and I think Stu saw his teammate in the mirror, felt as if his teammate just had a little bit more pace, and didn't really bother battling for that position all that much. And crucially, Stu has a time penalty, so I think maybe that played into a factor as well. As
That's great teamwork.
Yeah, let his teammate, who's kept a clean race so far, get ahead, make a push, and focus a little bit more on those constructors rather than points in the drivers. But we'll see how this all plays out, because of course we still have many laps to go. 13, if I'm being exact here. 13 laps to go, but these are long laps around this circuit. It is one of the longest circuits on the calendar, if not the longest. So I wouldn't say there's only 13 laps, because these will be a long 13 laps and they will be filled with excitement, that is for sure. But here we go. Once again, Cohen putting some pressure on Mats. Will he get the move done here around on lap 9? He does have DRS. He's using some ERS, getting close, but not close enough, I don't think, as Matt's still doing a solid job defending, holding on to that P6. And let's take a look. And crucially, Mats has a lot of ERS to play for. So this is just pure pace from Mats compared to Cohen with this defending. Maybe a little bit of fuel usage compared to Cohen, because that we don't have. But here we go. Cruz and Elbiku going side by side around the downhill U-turn. And it is Cruz who gets the move done up into 8th. Michael Fear is falling down into 9th. And now is slotted between a Mercedes sandwich. Oh no! Oh, no, he saves it, keeps it out of the wall, but unable to save it on track there, as Michael Fear is losing out on a few positions, just having a slide around Puan, and that brings him down into 11th. But as mentioned, crucially, no wing damage, able to keep that car out of the wall, so just a little bit of time loss, but can continue on his way. Maybe a little bit of a flat spot there as well. But at least it's not a pit stop.
Yeah, Simi's extending the gap back to Irish Stew Potato, so Simi's here to race today. He's got the pace. I mean, he is using a lot of energy, but so is an Irish Stew Potato. And V-Mark's just kind of tucked in behind Kurt Valletta, and Mavako following nicely behind them.
Yeah, but we'll see. I think V-Mark might focus on a move sooner rather than later if Mivako is closing the way he is. I mean, Mivako does have medium tires compared to V-Mark, who's on the softs, so that's gonna maybe it's a long con game. But here comes Cohen. Thought about going around the outside of Mats here on lap 10, but just once again he's getting closer and closer. They're inching closer and closer together, but just can't get that move done, as Mats is still in 6th, and Cohen, I think, maybe he's starting to get a little bit frustrated as he can't seem to get past that McLaren, regardless of how hard he's tried here, as I've been keeping an eye out on this in that same section for what I feel is like the last 4 laps now. So, I mean, Matt's putting on a very solid defensive clinic here, and really showing how you need to drive this circuit if you're looking to defend, as he's just getting the exits he needs, getting that traction compared to Cohen. And I'm thinking maybe Cohen had a bit more of a wet weather setup, which is maybe why he's not closing up as much as he would like.
Yeah, he's using a lot more energy compared to Mats, who's still sitting at 80%.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I think Mats, he's got that energy to defend, and worse to worse, if the move does happen, he can just use some of that energy to get the overtake right back. So in this battle, I think it is advantage to Mats, but I do want to see an overtake happen here. I want to see a little bit of battling more than I have, and maybe on this lap we might see it. Let's take a look. Oh my goodness, Mats has essentially a full bar of ERS, and not using any as he's coming up Eau Rouge. But here we go. Take 5, I guess you could say. Take 4 or 5. Here comes Cohen with DRS, with ERS, using up just about all of the ERS, but once again, can't get that move done. Matt's really riding the curb on that right-hander, which nearly opened the door to Cohen, but just as quickly as that door opened, it's shut, as now they're coming around that downhill U-turn, approaching the no-name corner, and it's a similar result. Matt's in 6th, Cohen in 7th, and crucially, just a little bit further ahead, Kirk Valletta, V-Mark, and Mivako, they were closing up on one another, but they've now just given a little bit of space to one another now, as the gaps are now right around 1.5 to 2 seconds between those 3 drivers. But here we go. El Biku, Michael Furious, he put on the soft tires after having that moment around Puan, so he's going to be very fast and already putting some pressure on Ephraim to try to get that 13th position right back. Let's take a look and see. Is he going to get daring around this corner? I don't think he will, as he's not going to be able to close up all that much. but the ghosted car of Lewis is going to play a little bit of factor in this as well, as Ephraim gets past. Here comes Michael Fures as he gets past now, but almost having to go through that ghost car. So we are back to the two-person battle. Is Elbiku going to get the better exit? It looks as though he is closing ever so slightly, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to get a move done into the bus stop chicane. We're riding on board. Will he go for a lunge down the inside? Thought about it a little bit, but doesn't want to force something, I don't think. So he is going to stick in 13th and try his luck after Ohuj, or maybe into turn 1 here. No, Ephraim just braking a little bit later than Michael Fures. So no move into turn 1. Maybe into turn, maybe up Ohuj here after this section. Let's take a look. Very, very close is Michael Fures. And here we go with the DRS using ERS now, riding the rear, going down the inside as they approach turn 1. They're gonna go side by side here. There's contact, and oh no! Once again, Michael Fures getting the short end of the stick there as the elbows were out, losing the back end a little bit with that. And going to have to essentially regain all that time once again, as now the gap between Elbiku and Ephraim is up to 3 seconds.
That was close. But I want to take a look at the penalties. Kurt Valletta's sitting on 6 seconds, so that's absolutely going to hurt him at the end of the race. V-Mark with nothing, same with Simi. And Irish 2 Potatoes brought that, I didn't even notice, but that gap's come from 3.4 all the way down to 1.9, so I don't know if there was an issue, but it looks like these guys are going to have to pit again. I'm looking on their elm boards, and normally when you see the blue wrench come up.
Yeah, and I was looking, crucially, just right as he mentioned that, when I was riding on board with Dark to see to try to watch this battle unfold between himself and Stu, Stu decided, you know what, I don't want to battle, I'm just going to take a pit stop, and he's going to put on the soft tires to go to the end of the race, I think. So we might be seeing these medium tires take another, the medium tire runners, take another pit stop, maybe have that intermediates to mediums, and then put on a set of softs to really pump the laps in here at the end of the race. But actually, let's take a look. So Simi and Irish New Potato, they both have similar ERS levels, although Simi does have a little bit more. But I think maybe, I'm not too sure if there was an incident, or maybe Irish Nude Potato was just doing a little bit of fuel conservation, and now that he's brought that to a level that he's happy with, able to just push a little bit more and close that gap right back up. But I do think advantage still is in Simi's hand, as now Cruz takes a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, so that's going to be applied, and you can see that there. Out of the top 13, every driver except for 4 have taken penalties, so we're going to see maybe the order shift, and if V-Mark can just close up a few of these gaps, maybe catch up to Kurt Valletta a little bit more, he might be in for could be in for a podium, or could be in for potentially a P2, depending on how this all plays out. Oh no, Kurt Valletta gets a spin on the exit of turn 1, so that's going to help V-Mark for sure, as now Kurt Valletta needs to get back on track. There he is now, and he does take a little bit of end plate damage as well, so that's going to affect the downforce on that Red Bull. And now Mats is probably going to be closing up fairly quickly, as he's now down to 1.2, 1.1 seconds. So Kurt Valletta might be a little bit of a sitting duck here, and he might just use this excuse to take a pit stop and put on maybe a set of softs, similar to what we're seeing Stu do, so he can go to the end of the race and just pump out some of these laps. But that
crucially, Cohen's dropped back from Mats. That battle ceased to continue on.
Yep, and now Matt's getting ahead of Kurt Valletta, as I think the move was just destined to happen. And if I'm honest, I think Cohen just ran out of, I don't want to say ran out of gas, but just ran out of fighting juice. His ERS was essentially empty after that last move he attempted, and I don't know about the fuel situation for Cohen, but I'd like to think it might have been in a similar situation, just maybe using a lot of fuel, using a lot of ERS, and once all of that basically ran out, maybe thinking, okay, I'll just slot back, do my own race, and wait for either a pit stop or wait for these medium tires to start falling off, and then try to get these overtakes. Is now he's overtaking Kurt Valletta, which once again I think you could come to expect given the lack of downforce that Kurt Valletta has. Probably going to be taking a pit stop here, I would think, because he's already lost 2 positions, and yep, you saw that there. Kurt Valletta diving into the pits, and I think going to be going to the soft tires to the end of the race. But I'm looking here at these gaps. Simi is still in the lead. Irish New Potato in second, keeping that gap around 2 seconds. But crucially, they're both getting away from VMark, who's VMark's in third. He was in a little bit more of a distant third, but this gap has grown from like 9 seconds, 9.3, up to 9.4 now. So Irish New Potato, I think, doing what he has to do. If I take a look, yeah, doing what he has to do to try to solidify that P2, even with the penalties, assuming he doesn't take a few more between now and the end of the race. So it's still been a solid drive for the AlphaTauri driver. Not
only
to take
3
any...
seconds.
Yeah, for now at least. But if he can, he's got that cushion now between himself and VMark. So if he can just focus on keeping it on track, it could be a decent finish. What's going on here? We've got some yellow flags. That was Chris Nerazzurro having a moment on the exit of the bus stop chicane. And so he's losing down on 1 position, but probably only temporarily, as he just immediately gets past the ghost of Lewis. So not what Chris Nerazzurro was hoping for, as that's going to be a lot of time loss. But crucially, no damage on that Williams. So he can just continue on and won't be forced to take another pit stop and have this go from bad to worse. And crucially, given that Lewis is a ghosted car and probably won't be making any overtakes anytime soon, all these running drivers who are able to keep it clean are essentially guaranteed points if they can finish the race and survive up until the end of lap 22. So there is that extra incentive where even if you're not having the best of race, like Chris Nerazzurro is having, there is still that incentive to keep at it, keep racing up until the end, because you will get some points for yourself in the drivers' standings and some points for your constructors in that constructor standings.
D-Morse is closing in on the back of Michael Fures. We might get him. Oh yeah, he's got to have wing damage of sorts. No, he's actually just
pitting. A pit stop is Michael Fures. He put on those soft tires only 4 laps ago, so maybe just putting on another set of softs, I would think, to the end. If he has another set to work with. Yep, so that is another set of softs. We've got a yellow flag here as, oh no, VMark had a moment around Puon, and he's getting back on track now. No wing damage, so I think it might have been a similar incident we saw Michael Fures have a few laps ago, where maybe clipping the inside curb, getting a little bit too close to it, the car just gets unsettled, starts to slide. You're able to save it, but you just lose out on some positions. So that promotes Mivako up to a podium position here, up into third, but still needs to close up 13 seconds if he wants any chance of battling for second place here, which is held by Irish New Potato. Which, to speak on Irish New Potato, this gap down to 1.5 seconds compared to the 1.9 seconds. So are we going to see the AlphaTauri driver maybe start making a push here on these closing stages on Simi and maybe try to attack and battle for the lead of the race?
Yeah, Mavako's just... we saw it last season with Vito, but Mavako taking over the helm of Mr. Consistency. I mean, look at the position change. Up 8 spots, rather. And Oddmats, who we saw not even set a lap of qualifying, up 14 spots to 4th. Excellent race for these guys.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's funny you mentioned Mr. Consistency, Vito, for those who aren't aware, who's not racing here. But don't get me wrong, I love me Vito, and I want him to do well, and always expect him to do well as a Red Bull driver, and I mean supporter of all the drivers here in ISRL. But I'm starting to feel maybe it's that Ferrari car here in Division Two. Maybe Matthias Binotto in this game here has a little a secret chip in there for consistency with that Ferrari car. Because now Mivako jumping into it and continuing on that consistency route of pumping out these strong showings.
Absolutely. We see the gap coming down from Irish New Potato to Simi. Just slowly. It might be a few hundredths here, a tenth here, but it's coming down.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If he can handle that well, that might close that gap enough. If he can just bring it within a second, that brings him into DRS territory. And once you get into DRS territory, that's where the battle truly begins, because that's where you can really start closing up to the driver ahead. But speaking of closing up in battles, Dark and Cruz. Dark sitting behind the Mercedes and trying to get this overtake done. He is within half a second now. And given that Cruz is on 11 lap old medium tires, Dark is on 11 lap old hard tires, we might be in a little bit of a changeover period here, where maybe those hard tires are going to start feeling a little bit less wear. Those medium tires might start to fall off that cliff ever so slightly. So we'll see how this all plays out. Opens up the DRS flap, does the Red Bull driver, really gaining on the Mercedes, who defends towards the inside, as they're going to go side by side through this corner. Dark stuck on the outside and really just doesn't have that traction to get the Red Bull around. So it is still Cruz in 7th, Dark in 8th. But this is a battle to keep an eye out, as they're very close. But here comes, crucially, Dark around the inside of the downhill U-turn into the no-name corner, and he does get the overtake done, as I think Cruz just went into that downhill U-turn a little bit too hot, had to go way wide, which opened that door to Dark, who makes no mistake and brings that Red Bull up into 7th.
Yep, Irish Sweet Potato had it down to almost just a second, but on the corner exit of the last corner, just got up on the curb, got a bunch of wheel spin, but so tantalizingly close, but still out of DRS range. Absolutely spending it, has no energy left. He's giving it his all with 4 to go here.
Yeah, he wants that. He wants to get that move done. At the very least, get it done on track. Maybe feeling that if he can get into that clean air with with those slightly fresher medium tires, he might be able to grow that gap. But the laps are counting down against Irish Nude Potato in this sake, as we've got about 3 laps to go here for the Belgian Grand Prix for Division 2. I'm keeping an eye out on some of these other battles as well. VMark and Cohen, they're 2 teammates, but I don't think we're going to see too much battling between them, as much as they are close. Maybe helping tow each other around the circuit. Here comes Cruz now, 1 lap later, trying to attack Dark, I would think, but he is a little bit of a ways away and doesn't appear as if he's going to catch up nearly enough ground to get this overtake done here on lap 19. But still staying patient is Cruz, going to probably try to hope for something similar that happened, hope for Dark to just get a mistake or force Dark into a mistake and capitalize on that overtaking opportunity when it presents himself, if he's unable to close that gap enough. But I'm going to jump back to this lead race. 10.01 down to under a second now is this gap. Did he close it up enough to get DRS down this start-finish straight? Let's take a look. No.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't. Our Irish New Potato didn't at that point. Down to 1.1. Irish New Potato is going to have to get the exit he really needs to get DRS through here. Up to 1 point. I don't think he's going to do it on lap 20. I think he was just over a second. And crucially, Simi has used up a lot of ERS as well. So both these drivers are playing with similar cards in their hands, I believe, as they're both basically without any ERS, using it to their full extent, trying to conserve as well. You can see the difference, the pressure now that Nude Potato is facing, trying to get this overtake done, hold on to get that overtake done on track, and maybe still try to push for a victory here, because like I mentioned, Spa is a very long lap, and you can really create a gap within a span of a lap and a half if you've got the pace, which they both do. And you can see the difference now, how close Irish New Potato is to Simi, down to 0.6 seconds. So he feels, Irish New Potato does, that he can probably get this gap grown in the corners in Sector 2, but just doesn't seem to have enough pace going down Sector 1 and 3, which favors a little bit more of a higher top speed like setup. But this lap, it looks as though it's going to be a little bit different, definitely within a second now, as they're approaching the bus stop chicane. So we're going to see DRS from Irish New Potato as they end lap 20 and start lap 21. But will the move be able to get done? Maybe into turn 1. I doubt it's going to be into turn 1. But maybe if he can still keep that gap within a second, get that exit he needs, and get that line through Eau Rouge, we might see a move here on lap 21 down into the corner of the Camel Straight.
Mats is all over the back of Mivako for the final podium spot as well, so it's all coming together here in the final laps.
Yep, I'm going to have to keep an eye out on both these battles. Here we go. Let's take a look. I'm going to take a look. They're coming into the corner. It is still Simi leading the way. Put that battle on pause, because here comes Mats on Mivako as they come up Eau Rouge down the Camel Straight. Here we might see an overtake. Mivako defending down the inside. Here comes Mats going around the outside. Mivako giving just enough room, and it is Mats who gets the move done. And oh my, those cars got very close to one another, if I'm being honest. Almost some contact there. But, Mats locking up. Is that going to open the door for Mivako? Ooh. Doesn't seem like it. Here,
Irish New Potato almost into the back of Simi.
Yeah,
they're so close.
They're so close. I was seeing those gaps, but just wanted to make sure Mivako wasn't going to make a lunge. And I think Matt's now reaping the benefits. That Stu retiring from the session. I thought it was a crash out, but that was a retirement into the pits. So crucially, Stu not for forfeiting any points that he was going to have this race. As you mentioned, he was in the points and not getting any for the Mercedes team. But here we go. Look at how close Irish New Potato is to Simi. We're starting the final lap of the Grand Prix. Are we going to see this move finally happen on track? As they're coming around turn 1, you can see how close Irish New Potato is. I think we will see the overtake done potentially. Oh, that was scary. Thank goodness that Mercedes of Stu was ghosted out of the pits, so that could have not ended well. But here we go, barreling down the Camel Straight. Here comes Irish New Potato using everything he has in the tank. Oh my goodness! Look at the pace difference. Is Simi almost hitting the grass there, losing out? And that was almost an incident at a very fast portion of the track that really could have caused a back end to be lost. But I think Simi's starting to feel that wear with those 16-lap-old medium tires. But the move is done. Now, that is step 1. Step 2, if I take a look here, if I can put on 3 seconds now, Irish New Potato needs to make, or 3 seconds Simi needs to stay within Irish New Potato to still solidify that win on penalties. So it is a tall order here with half a lap to go. And you can see Simi, but crucially up to 1.2 seconds now, 1.3. Simi really struggling with those tires, but I don't know if he's going to be able to gain a second and a half within this span of one last sector, but it's going to be close. 1.7 now, 1.8. I don't think Irish New Potato is going to do it. Maybe if he had one more lap, he might have had a chance, but I think it's going to be too little too late as they're approaching the bus stop chicane, barring maybe a poor exit. No, Simi nursing the car home. Irish New Potato crosses the line in first, but it is Simi who takes the victory on penalties to take the win here. But we've got some other battles to keep an eye out here as Mivako going slow. He's out of fuel, so that promotes Mats up into third as he was. Cohen in fourth, V-Mark in fifth, as Mivako going very slow, trying whatever he can with the DRS he has, but it's all for naught. but he still gets a P5 as he overtakes Cohen on penalties. But that did bring VMark up into 4th, but Mats getting a podium up into 3rd for the McLaren team. What a drive from the McLaren driver after not setting a time in qualifying. And I think that was a last podium for Mats, if I'm not mistaken.
He's up 15 spots.
Oh my goodness. Incredible. Just switched over to that now, and that is crazy for Mats. Oh, Synchro .093 behind Kirk Valletta. Oh, so close to that P8, but the Racing Point is gonna have to settle for 9th, as we're just awaiting for the final few drivers to cross the line and solidify their points. There comes El Biku. Michael Fierez around the final corner now, crosses the line in 13th, and we need Chris Nerazzurro to cross the line and take that P14. But my goodness, it all came off here at the end of the race. We had a lot of excitement there, but oh my goodness. And Simi taking the victory, but it got a lot closer than it had to be at the end. Mivako might be kicking himself with the loss of fuel, just unable to manage that fuel to his extent, but still gets a solid P5. But I do have to say, probably, yes, the man you see on your screen, Max.
Oh, deservedly so.
What a drive.
Absolutely.
A candidate for driver of the day for sure, as he goes up 15 positions to a podium after starting essentially last on the grid. So he must be very happy with that podium. And I do hope that he does join in with the post-race interviews so we can get his thoughts on that race. But we are looking at this podium. The champagne is popped. They are celebrating. Well-deserved podium for these 3 drivers. Congratulations, you all deserved it very much so. As there we have it. That has been a very exciting Belgian Grand Prix. It is Simi who gets the victory from pole for the Williams. Irish Snoot Potato in 2nd, and Mats rounding out the podium in 3rd after starting in P18. VMark in 4th, Mivako in 5th, Cohen in 6th, Dark in 7th, Kurt Valletta in 8th, Synchro in 9th, and Cruz rounding out the top 10. It is then Demorts in 11th, Ephraim Tabone in 12th, Michael Fierez in 13th, Chris Nerazzurro in 14th, the Ghost of Lewis in 15th, the last of the finishing drivers, with Stu coming in 16th, Lorenzo in 17th, Jordan in 18th, and Krishna in 19th. Not finishing the race, and they are the last of the order. But my oh my, I still can't get enough of this race here for Division 2. But I feel at the same time, given what we've seen so far this season, kind of par for the course. Given the races we've seen for Division 2, they've always been very fascinating. They've always been exciting. And we had a little bit of everything here. The weather playing a factor once again here in Spa. You saw it in Division 3. You're seeing it here in Division 2. And it begs the question, will we see some weather in Division 1 when they hit the track in about 40 to 45 minutes time? It's going to make things interesting. But here we saw a little bit of everything. We had Calamity in lap 5. We had the close battles all the way at the end of the session here on at the end of the race. But did we have somebody join the party? I don't think I have my notifications up.
Yes, we got Irish Sweet Potato. Irish Sweet Potato, can you hear us? Wow. I gotta say, the gap, 3 seconds, man. You really chipped away at that throughout that second stint there with the medium tires. Simi seemed to, even the 1 lap difference on how old the tires were, it seemed that Simi's tires really just fell off the cliff. Were you maybe saving, Eric mentioned earlier in the stream that maybe you were saving fuel, just trying to find that sweet spot in the strategy on that second stint to really start attacking him. Unfortunately, you had the penalty, and you almost, I mean, by .723, you just lost it out, but what a fantastic race for you. It's as many weeks, man. You're just podium. You're raking in the points. Oh my goodness. Raking in the points. Oh no.
I think the word you're looking for is reaping in the points, but we'll leave that there.
Raking. raking in the. Oh,
We got the worst of
anyway.
both worlds. A little bit of a blooper reel here for the end of the season, but we
What
will
have I
forgive
done?
you on.
Anyways.
So I mean, Irish New Potato just. I mean, Sunik brought up a lot of very good points, but I want to hear from you. Take us through. What are your thoughts after that race? Yep, and I mean, because that's the thing, like you had mentioned, I think he was pushing early on, and once those tires did start to fall off the cliff, that's where your pace truly came in, as you saw. Now, if you had just...
Hold up 1 second. Irish Stew Potato, do you have your party chat settings so that way your voice is shareable? People in the stream are saying they could not hear you. Wow. Well, I'm not gonna talk anymore. I messed up.
That's all right.
I'm gonna let Eric handle this.
No, that's all right. I mean, just to summarize, Irish New Potato, felt Simi, if I caught correctly, felt Simi pit a little early. Saw the pushing, but that's where I was gonna ask about. Once those tires did fall off the cliff, that's where that pace truly came. And I do want to get your thoughts. Assuming that's resolved and we can hear you. If you had one more lap, let's say this race was a 23 lap race. Do you think you had the victory in the bag, or do you think it would have been still a little bit closer if there was that one extra lap? So there we go. If there was one more lap, you heard it here first or second. Irish New Potato, he felt he had that win in the bag if he just had that one last lap. But still a very solid showing in P2, and that's, as Sunik said, a strong haul of points. Now, Sunik, I just want to check in, because like I said, I don't have my notifications here. Do we have anybody else join in for the post-race interview?
No, unfortunately, we don't. I really want to get Simi's thought on that race. It's his second race here in the division. Jordan spoke very highly of him, and come out in his second race. We knew last week at Baku did not have the result he was looking for. I don't believe he finished that, or he finished down the order. But a strong showing this week from Simi, and also really wanted to get Matt's insight and POV and just his perspective of that race, coming from the back, 15 spots up. Not only do I believe he's clearly in contention for driver of the day, as we saw on screen, but maybe driver of the week. That was an impressive drive from him, just nipping the podium away from Mavako there with a couple to go. So, yeah, a lot of great racing on track. We saw 2 battles for podium spots happen within the last 2 laps. So, what a fantastic race to watch, and glad I could be here. Thanks.
Yep, thank you very much. There's the final thoughts with Sunik. Happy to have you here as well. Happy to have you join me in the commentators booth. But that'll do it for us here for the Division 2 race here at Circuit Spa Francorchamps, and what a race that was. And of course, if you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, check out the YouTube for tons more racing action. But of course, you don't want to go anywhere, because in about 35 to 40 minutes time, we will have the main event. It will be Division 1 taking their crack around Circuit Spa Francorchamps, and if it's anything like we've seen in racing so far today, you won't want to miss it. But of course, thank you to our sponsors, IMB Racewear, Jackson Protection Agency, IFEA. We couldn't do this without all of your support, and of course, everybody watching at home supporting the streams, liking the posts. We couldn't do this without all of you. But on behalf of Sunik, I've been Fallen Monkeys. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourselves a fantastic day.